Hello everyone, I am Özgür and I have played Alekhines Defense for past 10 years. I'm not exactly sure if it's 10 years or 9 years. It just long time. And I will share my experiences on Alekhines Defense. It will not be a long video. I will just talk about disadvantages and advantages of this opening. But firstly, let me explain what Alekhines Defense is. It starts after the moves e4 and knight f6. This position is the start of the Alekhines Defense, and as you can see here, the most important thing is that white can push his e4 pawn to e4 pawn with tempo on f6 knight, and that's usually what happens. That's the best move too. And after the push of the pawn, white generally chooses to push a lot of his other pawns too, and that's exactly what black wants from this position. Because he will later attack those central pawns with his pieces, not with pawns, with his pieces. Yeah, that's the main idea behind the Alekhines Defense, but the biggest problem Alekhines Defense has is the range of variations that white can choose from and play against Alekhines Defense. It is very big. White can play anything that comes to your mind. He can play d3, he can play knight c3, he can play e5, he can sack this pawn and play bishop to c4. Whatever white wants, obviously. And he can get positions that he is more familiar with, like if he plays against French defense more often, then he can go something like this, not like that. Let's say plays knight c3 and I always play d5 here. He can go for e5 and after d4, as it looks, it's very similar to French defense, because you'll probably play e6 or c5, which will look like French defense. Obviously, there's some differences, like a knight on c3 and knight on d7. But he will probably know this better than Alekhines Defense variations. Or he might just want to play some drawing lines. After the exchange on e5, he can go queen to f3 and try to draw very easily. Other than that, he can learn some dubious sacrifices, some dubious gambits, and most of the time he's not surprised. Even if he haven't prepared anything against Alekhines Defense, which actually people do prepare against. I don't know why. Some people would prepare against an opening that is played once a year, but they do. They always have some answer to it. And one time that your opening doesn't know Alekhines Defense, it's not a problem for them, because every move in Alekhines Defense, I'm speaking for the white here, is very, very natural, like too natural. And they are the best moves. Let me show you some variations. After d6 and c4, if he wants to trade, he can trade. And in this position, the best move is considered knight f3. And every move after knight f3 is very natural developing moves, like knight c3, bishop to d2 or d3, and then castle, develop your other bishop, play b3, play queen to c2, and this opening doesn't get to surprise your opponent. That's a big Although I say this a disadvantage for you, because if you played something else than Alekhines Defense, you can surprise your opponent, which you don't get to do in this defense. So that's the number one disadvantage of this opening. Other than that, the positions you get are very, very boring. Like, even this position is very boring because you both develop your pieces. There's no attack, there's no defense, there's just 2 pawns that white has in the center, and you don't get to crush your opponent's center. Maybe you can play d5 later or c5, but he can just keep his center. And there is not many attacking ideas in this opening, unfortunately. Even in the most aggressive, considered aggressive openings has this disadvantage. Like, let me show one of them to you. It's called 4 pawns opening, and it's considered a little bit aggressive, but it's not, because after the exchange on e5 and developing your white bishop, it gets to some position that is very boring. This is the most played way of this opening. After some natural developing moves, black plays f6, and as you can see here, it's 55% draw. Because after the exchange, the moves here are very, very slow and mostly nonsensical. Even, I don't know if that's a word or not, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. Let me show you. The best move is queen to d2, and best move here for black is queen to e2, e7, sorry. And after those moves, you just develop your pieces, get your king to safety, play some, again, nonsensical moves. Black plays them too, and these are considered the best moves. And if he plays 4 pawns defense, he probably knows these moves, and you will get some position like this. It looks kind of fun because of the this isolated pawn and the center that white has, but it's actually not fun because, again, there is not much to do. After like maybe 9 or 10 moves, white may choose to play d5, or you may choose to play e5 yourself, but you always have to calculate these moves, because there's always something different, something just slightly different. Like, this bishop is not here on g1, this which he chooses to play bishop f2, and this changes the full aspect of this position. So you always have to calculate these small differences and lose your precious time over a boring game, which will probably end in a draw. Or he might go for some other dubious looking openings, like bishop to c4 and sacrifice the e4 pawn, but it's not a real sacrifice because he gets it after these sets of moves, which black cannot prevent. And again, this position looks a little bit fun, but it's, again, not too promising for either side. It's considered, I think, that black has a little bit advantage on this position, but not something big. Especially after d5, it's considered, I think, a draw here. Yeah, that's the big disadvantages of this opening. Other than that, I have talked about the winning rates, which are not great. Yeah. Do I regret playing this opening for 10 years? Definitely, I do. I should have played Sicilian or French defense. I both have good scores and would have good scores and more fun playing other openings. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about this opening. It's a short video, but I will talk about this opening more in my next videos, which I will get into more details of the variations and show you some tricks that probably nobody knows because they didn't play this opening that long like I have. So that's it. Thank you for listening. And before I finish the video, I want to say English is not my first language. It's not my mother tongue. So if you didn't understand a thing I say, some accents or things, you can write in the comments. And you can be very disrespectful about it. I don't mind. And actually, be very disrespectful about it. I will get it why you do it like that. And yeah, the most disrespectful comments, I will frame it on the next video. So that's all. Thank you for listening and goodbye.